Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently called out Representative Tulsi Gabbard. So let me give you the details because there's a bit of a story behind this. And I want to make sure that I get all the nuance in this slight beef between these two lawmakers. So recently, you guys know James O'Keefe's basically Project Veritas, which is basically a smear organization, right-wing organization that comes up with edited videos, or they deceptively edit videos in order to try to achieve some sort of legislative aim, whether it be stopping Acorn or going after Planned Parenthood. They've been caught and called out on numerous occasions. So now Veritas, this time, purported to release a video proving that Ilhan Omar's campaign was encouraging voter fraud by harvesting ballots for cash. Now, in Minnesota, ballot harvesting is legal. Okay, so there's no law against it. Now, Tulsi Gabbard says there should be. But in this case, ballot harvesting is legal. And what is it? I mean, it even sounds nefarious in reality, right? But it's not. What it basically allows you to do is it allows certain officials to get permission to collect ballots from people, elderly people, people who are disabled, people who can't get to the polls. They can collect these ballots and then drop them off at polling places. Now, it seems like it's a pretty harmless thing, especially with coronavirus. You would want to make sure that people could vote easier. I mean, again, it makes all the sense in the world, right? But that said, there's a tiny risk of voter fraud. Of course, that's with anything. But in reality, voter fraud, according to studies, is incredibly rare. And so, look, voter fraud itself, for example, happened about 0.00006% of the time, give or take a zero. Okay, so it's incredibly rare, clearly not rampant enough to swing an election. Out of millions and millions of votes, they've had a few cases of documented voter fraud that resulted in prison time. Okay. All right. There you go. That said, this is who Project Veritas is. This is what they do, right? They are well known for deceptively editing videos and making these allegations without any proof that, by the way, gets immediately debunked by real journalists, and we will get to that. But Tulsi Gabbard, Representative Gabbard, decided that she would promote the work of Project Veritas in a tweet that she now deleted in order to help her, I guess, get attention for a piece of legislation that she has co-sponsored with 4 Republicans. So now, in the tweet, she said, Project Veritas offers further evidence for the need to ban ballot harvesting. It's not a partisan issue. It's been abused to help both R&D candidates, including North Carolina and California. Please help by telling your congressional representative to pass our bipartisan bill, H.R. 8285. And so she says it's bipartisan. It's mainly supported by, again, it's got 4 Republican co-sponsors and then Tulsi Gabbard, because she's a Democrat. I wouldn't say that's widely bipartisan, since you are the Democrat, the only one. All right. Now, what is H.R. 8285 anyway? What does it exactly do? Because she says it's for election security, right? In order to, help make sure that our elections are, the integrity of our elections stays, high, or doesn't get undermined by this ballot harvesting. Okay, so let's look at that. I mean, because for me, I would say let's have things like, for example, hand-counted paper ballots. I think that's a great idea. Hand-counted paper ballots, make sure that all of our votes are accountable. Is that in this bill? It is not. It turns out that what it is, it would just, according to the text of the bill, amend the Help America Vote Act of 2002 to prohibit payments under such act to states which permit ballot harvesting and for other purposes. Or she explains later, allowing any individual, including political operatives, to pick up multiple voters' ballots and deliver them to a polling location undermines the integrity of our elections, and so therefore her bill bans such an action. Okay, but where's the evidence? So you say it undermines our elections, and there's a lot of things that undermine our elections. Voter suppression, one, is a big one. And so if you have evidence, well, then that evidence should be cited. But the only evidence she had was the Project Veritas. And so that's where that organization comes in. They released a video accusing campaign workers for Representative Ilhan Omar and Minneapolis City Councilman Jamal Osman of harvesting primary ballots for money and intimidating elderly voters in Minnesota. The video featured footage of Liban Osman's brother, driving around with what appears to be dozens of mail-in ballots while talking about money in politics. So, I watched the video, and I got extremely bored because it didn't show anything. What it was is that you had this guy in this car talking about how it turns out that you need money to run a campaign. Yep. Now, look, I would love for there to be public financing of elections so that you wouldn't need to raise money to run a campaign. But what does this have to do? What does this prove when it comes to ballot harvesting? How did this prove that Ilhan Omar's campaign was paying people to, do fraudulent ballots? There's no evidence. There's no evidence. No evidence of this at all. And it was debunked. On Monday, by the way, Liban told Fox affiliate KMSP that he was, quote, set up and had previously been offered a bribe of $10,000 from Omar Jamal, a community activist and alleged insider for Project Veritas. So, well, there you go. They tried to bribe me, man. $10,000 to do this Sting video. Doesn't this always seem to happen? Of course it does. To get the money, Jamal told Liban to say he was collecting ballots for Omar. Liban says that even though the footage had implicated him, it was edited to do so as he had been collecting mail-in ballots from elderly voters that requested the service through his brother's campaign. So, all right. Look, Project Veritas cannot be trusted. They have doctored so many different videos in order to attack organizations and laws that help increase voter turnout. Now, unfortunately, you guys remember Acorn, right? So this was a group that would basically register people to vote and help them vote, okay? And so, wait. Okay, Project Veritas did this heavily edited video, at one point showing James O'Keefe in a pimp outfit, claiming that, oh no, this is what Acorn's doing, right? It's doing a bunch of illegal stuff. And President Obama, in his infinite wisdom, decided, let's get rid of Acorn. But they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything illegal. But see, that's the power of this right-wing propaganda. And it's really sad to see Tulsi Gabbard defend that organization. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Again, the facts do not fit that narrative. And so I'm sorry, like, what are you thinking? So, okay, where does Tulsi's bill go after voter fraud? Again, it just bans ballot harvesting. Again, what we need more stuff. We need hand-counted paper ballots. We need not a ban on collecting ballots for seniors and the disabled. We need ways to verify election results. Okay? This is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it. And so she is being called out. Tulsi Gabbard, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, tweets out, "You, along with everyone who amplified this fraudulent story, owe Representative Omar a public apology." So she went after Ilhan Omar and sided with the Republicans and Donald Trump using a fake story. And so I'm not in favor of that. And look, again, it is a fake story. Hennepin County, where this allegedly happened, the attorney said that it received no information of any cases involving so-called ballot harvesting in any elections. So Tulsi Gabbard was wrong on this. She was just wrong on the issue, full stop. That doesn't mean that she's wrong on everything, by the way. I'm not one of those people that are like all or nothing. I look at what you do. Yesterday, she called for the pardoning of Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. I think that's great. I think we should do that. Yes. Pardon Assange. Pardon Snowden. Yes. Make it happen. I agree with her 100% on that. I'm in favor of that. But that said, you got to call the balls and strikes where you see them. You can't just go around legitimizing Project Veritas, giving them credibility, especially when you've seen their long history of attacks against making voting easier and more accessible. You can't do that. So later on, by the way, she kind of apologized to Ilhan Omar. Here's what she said. This issue is not about any of us. It's about voter harvesting. Ilhan, I apologize for referencing the PV story as an example without thoroughly vetting it. Now will you support H.R. 8285 to get rid of voter harvesting, which undermines our democracy? If not, why not? Because you have no evidence. The evidence that you had cited before was not evidence. It was fake doctored videos. There is no legitimacy to banning ballot harvesting. There's just none. There's no evidence of this. And so why would you continue to push that bill? Again, what you're doing, unfortunately, whether she knows it or not, she is helping Republicans to push the narrative of voter fraud involving absentee ballots. She is helping the right wing and going against actual documented evidence to the contrary of Project Veritas' claims. And that is a problem. But see, again, there are some people who are going to defend her on this from the left. And that sucks because, again, there's no evidence of this. And so the facts do not back you up on this. And I just want to say to them, no politician is, above reproach. Understand. Every politician will make mistakes. Every politician will, say or do things that are stupid. And I get that. And they will do and say things that we don't agree with, that we don't like. Bernie Sanders, AOC, there's no, every politician does something that we don't like and should, we should push up against if they do. Fair enough. But it seems that some people who defend Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm just saying some people, some of her supporters take it too far and won't admit that she does anything wrong when she is clearly in the wrong on some issues. And so that's the problem here. Okay, some criticisms of AOC, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard are right, and some are disastrously wrong. You've got to stay in objective reality where the facts are. Look, I've defended Tulsi Gabbard. I've defended Jill Stein. Okay? And I've also hit them both on different issues. Because, again, you have to stay objective. Okay? And we have to understand as well that politicians are not perfect and we need to continue to push them in our direction. But there is a problem here that some people do not do the same thing when it comes to certain politicians. And you could probably find some people with Bernie Sanders in the same thing, but you can find a lot of people on Tulsi Gabbard's side that do the same. They're unwilling or unable to criticize her when she actually does something wrong. And that I find is a problem. And in this case, she got it wrong. She got it wrong. Now, if you check replies to this AOC tweet, you're going to see a pylon, not only from right-wingers, a lot of right-wingers, but also some members of the left that are attacking AOC by, for correctly pointing out where she did wrong. Now, they don't address that, okay? But instead, we'll go in unrelated tangents about how terrible Alexander Ocasio-Cortez is and how terrible Ilhan Omar is. And how not progressive they are. It doesn't really help your case when you don't even address it and don't even admit that, yeah, no, I like Tulsi, but she got it wrong. There is no evidence. This is a bad look. It just kind of makes me wonder about some members of her base and what their motivations really are. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.